Anglican, started during the English Reformation and was founded by King Henry VIII, as pictured. The Anglican Church, aka the Church of England, contains the basic premises of Catholicism with the ability to annul marriages for the king and the king only. Byzantium. After the fall of Rome, the Great Schism, and founding of Constantinople, Byzantium/the Byzantine Empire came to be. Before collapsing, they were Orthodox Christian to go against the Catholic side of Europe, aka the worst side. Christianity. One of the Abrahamic religions and one of the most known and popular today, this religion believes that Jesus of Nazareth was the true Son of God and the Messiah. It became extremely popular among women and the poor, two groups that lacked many necessary opportunities in life. Deism. Such is the word deity. This is the belief that God as a concept created life and instead of guiding it along, let it exist on its own accord and reason. Like a standby God, almost. Many philosophers believed that this was the appropriate belief and that humans should govern their lives with logic and reason instead of along with a religion. Enlightenment. Most profoundly in Western Europe, the Enlightenment was a period of growing philosophies and cultural shifts. Things such as logic, secular beliefs. It was the 17th century redemption to Western Europe's backwardness, along with the Renaissance. Feudalism, a political arrangement set up due to the unstable conditions in Western Europe after the fall of Rome. In order to gain protection from Germanic tribes, people entered serfdom, in which they agreed to work for lords in order to be protected, and were protected by the knights class, who were employed by the lords. And at the top was the king, who owned everything and everyone, and who also gave land to whoever he wished, which would be worked on by serfs, and the cycle continues. Gunpowder. Originally used by the Chinese for fireworks, gunpowder was utilized for its explosive quality and harnessed in the form of firearms by multiple armies, such as the Ottomans, who won them using them in their battles, like the Battle of Calderon, along with the Spanish, Portuguese, and Dutch, who used them to colonize and capture peoples and land. Humanism, a Renaissance philosophy that pertains to politics, religion, and art. The main premise was to shift the focus from theological topics and instead into humans, showed by the growing popularity of portraits and lack of religious art. Isolationism. When a country develops without outside contact, such as the early centuries of China and as with the Ming Dynasty after the Yuan Dynasty and the Neo-Confucian ideals. Justinian, the most prominent emperor of the Eastern European Empire of Byzantium, along with installing the religion of Eastern Orthodoxy, as well as implementing Corpus Juris Civilis, which became the base of Eastern Europe legal codes. The Kaaba. Housed in Mecca, this is considered to be one of the holiest places in Islam. The actual building is a large stone monument that is continually traveled to in a pilgrimage called the Hajj. Louis XIV, one of the absolute emperors of France, famous for quoting, "I am the state," to signify his overwhelming power over his rule. The model for Peter the Great's westernization reforms due to the ideal of as much power as possible for the czars. Moscow, the power capital of Russia after the destruction of Kiev. Due to developing under Mongol rule and then having to fend after the empire receded, Russia and Moscow were left extremely backward in comparison to the rest of Europe, which sparked the reforms Peter set in place. Neolithic. Such as the Neolithic Revolution, a period of time moving from hunting and gathering to sedentary farming and agricultural developments. This sparked civilization, and when people could stop worrying about food, they could start thinking about progress. Ottomans. One of the Muslim empires located across North Africa, East Europe, and modern-day Turkey, the empire was extremely advanced in terms of expansion and weaponry, especially their use of artillery and their infantry of the Janissaries, legal slaves of Christian children that were converted and given the highest rank in the military. Plagues. In short, widespread disease that wrecked populations. To be more specific, you had ones like the bubonic plague in Europe that helped population numbers in West Europe and helped raise labor value, and the pathogens of the Old World that killed hundreds of thousands of natives in the New World, such as smallpox. Qin, the brutal legalistic dynasty of the brilliant tyrant Qin Shi Huangdi, who worked to centralize China, created the written Mandarin language that is still used to this day, and started the Great Wall against East Europe, against the steppe nomads to the north. Had irrigation projects, standardized measurement systems, and unified China. Rome, one of, if not the greatest empire of all time, not only one of the first to employ citizenship as a form of governing, but also had such vast distance that ultimately led to its downfall, along with economic and military problems, but inevitably invasion. Schism. Referring to the Great Schism that split the Roman Empire and relocated the capital to Constantinople, this was one of the reasons Western Europe lacked in development. While Eastern Europe flourished under the rule and location, the West was significantly less developed in multiple fields. Tenochtitlan, the Aztec island capital in modern-day Latin America that was destroyed by Hernán Cortés and his conquistadors, and the land is now Mexico City today. Unification. When a country is ruled by one force and better prepared for invasion, such as periods when India was centralized instead of ruled by multiple local princes, and when China was centralized under the Qin dynasty. Voltaire. One of the Enlightenment philosophers that ideas were implicated in the Declaration of Independence, Voltaire theorized separation of church and state, freedom of speech, and freedom of religion. Westernization. Process of conversion pertaining to Western culture patterns and mimicking the success of Western civilizations. Examples in franchises that have started Western regions and spread, and the Peter the Great's Westernization reforms in which he copied the politics, policies, and social norms and fashion to better fit the Western style. Xia. The fake first dynasty of China before the Shang. To explain the dynastic role, the Xia supposedly lost the mandate of heaven, and the Shang gained the mandate by overthrowing them. It was a somewhat complicated but extremely successful cycle method. The Yuan dynasty. The Mongol dynasty of China, the first emperor being Kublai Khan, a descendant of Genghis Khan. After Genghis' death, the Mongol Empire was split into 4 eras. The Yuan dynasty, which was known for strict Mongol-Chinese segregation, was Zhang He. Muslim Chinese eunuch sailor that was heavily disliked by Neo-Confucians for his non-isolationist ideas, Zhang He traveled and documented his voyages for thousands of miles through the Indian Ocean.